Hello, everyone. My name is Herman Octaviano. I am a graduating senior, and my capstone project for ethnic studies is a documentary film titled Brincando y Resistiendo. Now, if we talked before this quarter started, you would know that my thesis was focused around critical and transformative pedagogy as it influences an alternative school established in my community. Both projects were very close to home, and while working on this film in my documentary class last quarter, I would not have mentioned that this was research. Instead, this project was a small chapter in a lifelong goal to document my family's story. I would not have been able to answer what that story is, and I don't know if I can now. But through this film, I share a small bit. I learned that my research is political and that telling the story holds truth within the work and within the people who engage in it. With the filmic tools to tell a story, I envisioned for this project to explore the complexities and the experiences that my family, as migrants to this land, now share with us. Now, I wouldn't call myself a filmmaker, but the thought of it sounds nice. Instead, I see myself as a storyteller, one who wishes to share stories through borders, both physical and imaginary, to understand one another in hopes of making this world a better place. Not the stories that dramatize and homogenize the dimensions of this world and, quote, other the subjects itself, unquote, but stories that you, our communities, and I see ourselves in. My project is one to honor my family, the traditions they brought with them, and their migration from the land that is known as Morelos, Mexico. Then now they reside in Samar, California. To offer context, the tradition Los Chinelos originates from this land Morelos, which is the south-central region of Mexico that before Spanish colonization was ruled by the highly complex civilization we have come to know as the Aztec Empire. The constant negotiation between the native communities and traditions being imposed through colonialism erased, transformed, and created new customs, values, and beliefs. A mestizaje of the people, if you will. From these phenomena, and during the early 1800s, is where Los Chinelos is thought to originate. Fundamentally, it is rooted in the blending of indigenous and European traditions, but more importantly, a resistance to Catholic religious practices. It is during this time of February and early March when I had the privilege to travel to Mexico to shoot my footage years. Carnavales happen in the streets worldwide. This period, right before the Lent tradition, is a public celebration where parades and costumes en masse are involved, as to lose one's everyday individuality and feel a greater sense of social unity with everyone else. However, indigenous people, or those on the bottom of the racial caste system in place, initially were not allowed to engage. Instead, when given the chance, they would dress up and cover their faces with clothes and rags in order to mock European customs. This was an attempt to be unidentifiable, as these actions would bring repercussions. The modern outfit of Los Chinelos now has a clear mockery of a European appearance, but also holds an aesthetic that celebrates Mexican symbolism, historical icons, and traditions that are characterized with La Cultura Mexicana. The central question guiding my project centers the experience of Chicanitas, Chicanitos, and Chicanitecs on one side of the U.S.-Mexico border, and their expression of Los Chinelos as a cultural tradition. I argue that as a younger generation of the Chicanx community, we make a political decision to engage with our heritage, an array of traditions that our ancestors, our communities, and our families now leave with us. This in turn leads us to understand the ways in which communities are pathologized, how our migrant families get criminalized, but yet our communities and the traditions continue to survive. It is beyond the limited scope of Eurocentric and ethnocentric thought and perspectives that I wish to engage these stories with and bring to conversation. My family in the film suggests a political and social conflict that exists for migrant and marginalized peoples through transnational boundaries, both physical and imaginary. This in connection with performance allows us to analyze the ways these conflicts at times produce varied aspects of identity, social expressions, art, etc., through cultural and historical context in space. Finally, I think through community studies in order to analyze what makes community, how communities engage, and where community takes place.
Esta es la comparsa San Juan Bautista, Coatetelco, Coatetelco, Coatetelco Morelos, Coatetelco, Chinelos, Chinelos, Chinelos.
My primary method is interviews, and I attempt to capture the tradition as it is expressed on both sides of the US Mexico border through video and sound. This is a very personal project, and there are emotions, expressions, and visuals captured by video and sound, as only these tools can, that enhance the narrative as a whole. Because even I cannot fully explain what we as a younger generation feel when we engage with Los Chinelos as a cultural expression, this film was the only way to tell this story. The music, the dance, the colors, the energy, and the community all come together to complete it. An important part to this work that I have not included in this presentation is my family's migration story. My dad first migrated to the US as a 17-year-old young Mexicano from this pueblo in Morelos, Cuatetelco. Originally an indigenous pueblo, it was after Spanish colonization that the blending of these two cultures now make up the town's character. My dad mentions that he did not intend to stay for long, but once my mom also took the journey in 1982, the children were born here in the US and it became impossible to go back, although they longed for it. I wouldn't be here without them, and I wouldn't be up here sharing this work if it wasn't for my family, who had supported me through some very troubled and difficult times in my journey and have now passed down the Chinelos life and tradition to me.
The Chinelos dance it connects me to, my family's roots, to where they're from. I mean, it's kind of funny, but I remember in school, like, people would ask me, like, oh, where are your parents from, or where are you from, where do they come from? I would say Mexico, and then they'd be like, okay, but where? And I would always say Morelos, and people would always associate that with Morelia, and I would be like, no, that's not it. It's a totally different place. And so I'd have to always be like, it's below DF, Ciudad de Mexico, in the middle of like Puebla and Guerrero and other places around the coast. And it was something they were like, yeah, I don't know where that is. So when I started dancing Chinelos, it kind of gave me a visual grasp of my connection to that place. It wasn't something vague. It wasn't something just, oh, I have to explain again. Chinelos seemed very like a symbolic way to explain where I am from, and almost kind of an iconic image of what Morelos is.
Like, being born as an American citizen, like, it's like really hard just to stay as, or keep the like Americanized like culture, I guess you can say, alive, and for me to follow up that, and we're kind of ripped away from our culture and traditions and where our roots came from. So I feel like very I guess like another way, like, I'm very proud from where I come from, like or where my parents come from, my roots.
Over the years, I noticed we have a lot of people in the United States that don't have or can't go to back home to Mexico, and little by little I've been actually getting some small souvenirs from Mexico. And the cool thing, like, once I bring them to the events back here in the United States, people get so happy. They get really happy because it's it's a little figure, or it's a shirt, or it's just a little symbol from Morelos, and once they get it, they feel the same pride that I do, or they feel it feels special. It actually really feels special because it's something from our little state of Morelos, and like I said, a lot of people don't know about our little state. So it's really cool that I've been making shirts that symbolize Los Chinelos, or I've been making shirts that have like a chinelo, or like saying like Estado de Morelos. And just by these small little things, it's really awesome experience. And I've actually talked to a couple of people that been wearing the shirts, and they said they bumped into more people from our same state, or from the same towns, or neighboring towns, just by wearing or by showing their small souvenirs.
I guess like with any performance we've ever done, putting on that suit like right before the banda's gonna play, there's this sense of like rush, this nervousness that kind of overwhelms you. But then as and you're waiting in your traje, and you can see everybody passing by like through the mesh of the mask, and they're kind of staring at you, and it's this weird sensation again that like you're kind of in this costume, in this disguise, and you kind of feel a little bit powerful because they don't see the real you.
For me now, Los Chinelos is a way of life. I wanna show everyone. I wanna show everybody in the world actually how fun it actually is. How you don't have to be raza. How you don't have to be Mexican just to enjoy this dance or this tradition. You could be anywhere, anyone from all over the world, and just by hearing the music or by seeing the chinelos, you have that actually like that whole movement, or that you have that whole experience. Like once you live in that moment, you're like dancing with the beat, we're dancing with the crowd, dancing with the people. It's super fun. It's not just mainly for Mexicans, it's not mainly for Latinos. It's actually for everybody that loves the music, everybody that loves the rhythm or dancing. It could be just a great experience.
The conclusions I made from the project made me realize that customs and traditions from a particular community expand and migrate with the people and the community they establish elsewhere. Not only is it the people who are born in Morelos, but second and third generation individuals who hold roots there make an attempt to preserve this both politically and socially. In an attempt to hold truth to the culture, I realized that the power of documentation creates possibilities of forming community through different platforms. The spirituality that people express when they dance, when they play the instruments, and where they come together is one of genuine happiness and an attempt to rid oneself of all of their troubles. People on both sides of the border make a living around it, and every year they look forward to particular events, celebrations, and festivals in order to indulge in los chinelos. This tradition, literally and metaphorically, helps people connected to it to survive. Although this film was one to try to share their story with you all, my family, and the Chinelos community, the writing component to my film will be completed through the online book platform Scalar. That allows me to make paths where I connect different ideas and chapters of the book for example, with other engaging content like videos, music, archival photographs, etc. The Chinelos tradition and my family's engagement with it is multidimensional and contains many aspects to it. So I believe that this would allow us to reflect on the complexity of this heritage and gain deeper narratives. Whereas some folks would find Los Chinelos as a means to provide their family, to come closer to the self, to build community and home to new spaces, and hold pride in the roots where they are denied. As my sister mentioned, this platform allows me to think through these ideas creatively and non-linearly. The multifaceted experience within the performance of Los Chinelos shouldn't be forgotten when being limited to linear writing forms, so my goal is to further and challenge more common writing forms. Thank you to the Ethnic Studies Department for allowing me to find purpose in an institution that continuously shows me that I don't belong. Thank you to the Cross Cultural Center, the Raza Research Centro, my fellow peers, my professors, my femtors and mentors, and my community for allowing me to learn and grow with you all. And finally, Affirmation House and the Matriarchy that have kept me sane this year and continuously remind me to take care of myself. Lastly, to my family, this is for you. and for those who continue to honor their past and reimagine what the future for our communities will be, for those who continue to learn to resist and grow to be resilient, to the migrants of this world, and for the Chinelos on this land. Ustedes son mi otro yo. Thank you.